What's up, New York City? It's good to be home. I'm Nickgq, and now I bring you Comics and Coffee. Yo, Mike, what's up, man? It's Nick. What's going on? What are you up to today, bro? Listen, let's grab some coffee and talk. I'm in Limbrook, Groundcentral. All right, cool, man. I'll see you soon. Later, bro. Today I'm here in Groundcentral, Limbrook, Long Island, one of my favorite coffee houses to come and relax. I'm more than excited to be talking to one of my friends and a great leader in the comic book community. You might know him from the back of your Overstreet price guides, from the Comic Cons, and here's a hint, the bigapplecon. Today I'm speaking with Michael Carbonaro, aka the man, Mike Carbo.
With that introduction, nothing else needs to be said. Thank you.
Yo, man.
Thank you very much.
Dude, like I always ask you, man, what do you have going on currently in this crazy COVID world, man?
There's always something, and man, it has been crazy, Nick. As you and I know, we've talked a few times since then. I mean, the first few months were absolutely...
It's insane, bro.
I didn't know what to say. Stay home, do this, do that, don't do this. So I just started calling my friends. I just started talking to people, and I thought no one would ever buy a comic book again or a collectible. It's the exact opposite. Everybody wants collectibles.
Yeah, I seen that, man. I seen that. I was like, online started to spike. People were shopping at home. I'm like, stuff. I had figures sitting for, I would say, I swear to God, years.
Yep.
Started to sell on my eBay. I'm like, this is great. And
unbelievable.
People got into reading more. People got into collecting more.
And they're still doing it. It's still going strong. Unfortunately, I had to postpone a show. We had a show set with Jim Lee, the master artist and head of DC Comic Books, all set for April 4th and 5th of this year.
Yeah.
It's now set for May 2021, and by God, I hope we can run it and make something amazing for New York City.
I mean, I hope so too. I know that they've been trying out some stuff. A lot of people have been failing. A lot of people have been trying out the virtual thing. It's not been successful. You know me. I'm like a money guy. So I want the collectors and the dealers to make money. I want the artists to make money.
That's what I've always loved. I mean, I am a dealer and a fan and a collector and a promoter.
Yeah.
I'm all of that wrapped into one.
Exactly.
So I want to see the show succeed on all levels.
So what do you and bigapplecon have in store?
It's still being worked out because we have 9 months, but that's not 9 months comes before you know it when you're running a convention or running an event. But we're working on a combination where it's virtual, a combination where it's live, a combination with avatars, with people, with things. We've got a lot of things. I'm hoping that I can create a whole week in New York City and literally bring back all the fans to New York that have loved New York.
That's important.
That have loved 25 years. bigapplecon has run in New York City. Over 500,000 people have walked through the doors of Big Apple Convention.
See, what I've been seeing, like, shout out to one of my cool guys, Flacco Rican on Instagram. He posts the coolest pictures from these Comic Cons in California. Now, I'm here like, what's going on? I want it here. I want it here. And what eggs me is the fact that people can be shopping in Targets and Walmarts and Kmarts and their grocery stores. We can easily social distance and set up safe booths and put up the same plexiglass and run these Comic Cons.
We're working on it. You just can't have the max crowd that you used to have. I mean, part of the fun of a convention is that you're all with everybody and everyone's dressing up and figuring it out. So we're trying to figure out how we can elongate it. It needs more days. Maybe it's only, instead of 5,000 people a day, maybe it's only 2,000 people a day or 1,000 people. We're trying to figure it out, how we can get everybody into this space. And let them have fun and create an outdoor area for everybody.
I know you're the man to do it.
I'm trying so hard to figure this out and make it. I want to do it for me and for New York City. What? For New York. I mean, I was in New York this last weekend. I stayed in a hotel just to relax for a few days. And I don't know what to say. It's sad. It's
It's
slow.
a ghost town, bro.
It's
a ghost town.
You know, I mean, how can that be the greatest city in the world? It always will be to me. I care about New York. I love New York. I love comic books. And somehow I'm going to put the two together and make something happen. I don't know how else to say
You always do it, man. For years, you always do it.
You know, that's how the beginning of Big Apple started.
Yeah.
The origin of Big Apple. You know, there was a promoter in New York, and at the last minute, he couldn't run his show. It was at the New York Coliseum, which isn't here anymore, right in the corner of 59th Street and Central Park West.
Okay.
And there's a buzz in the convention, and everybody's there early. I'm one of the dealers, and there's no show. Well, what? So I go to the promoter, and I say, what's going on? Because I can't run the show. The fire code's aren't approved. So everyone thinks we just ran and rented a space. I spent the next 2 hours, me, my friend Vincent Zurzolo, with the promoter, trying to find a new space. He was offered a space that day. He refused. I said, look, if you're not going to do it, we're going to do something. We found this church, literally walking distance from the place. I ran in, threw the money at them. This was on a Wednesday. We spent the next 3 days promoting it, saying people the show must go on, church con, whatever. Bang, Zoom, Saturday morning we opened it. Zoom, the people came rushing through the door. It was like a whiz.
No, that's awesome.
We had no idea what would happen.
Yeah.
We called it Big Apple Convention, and for the next 25 years I've run it, sometimes 4 times a year, sometimes 2 times a year. And now this is the 1 year so far there has not been a show in New York City.
So speaking of that,
And I don't know what to do. It's driving me crazy.
It's mind-boggling. But speaking of that, though, you must come around some fascinating collections. I mean, I know personally you're always doing buys. We've done business many times. What is that collection you'll never forget?
Oh, there's tons of them. There's a collection called the Murray Bricker collection. This is sometime in the early 70s. He had it. It was at a comic convention. It was at the Phil Sulin, one of the early comic conventions in the 70s. And I go, how much for the whole table? And he goes, 10 cents a piece. I said, I'll give you a nickel. He said, okay. And he said, but you got to come to my garage and get the rest. I went to the guy's garage in the store. He opened it up. I mean, there was original Hulks, original Strange Tales, pre-superhero Marvels. And I remember me and my dad, it was like, was it 3 cents a book? It was thousands of dollars at the time. Tens of thousands of comic books. And it took us like a day to unload the stuff, but that was one of the great collections. I remember the Marvel posters. You know those Marvel posters that everyone now charges, the 3D, the black light ones, those super ones with the images of Iron Man and Medusa and all this cool stuff. Well, they had them in John's bargain store for 10 cents a piece. So I buy them, and this is 1975. I bought 10,000 of them for a dime a piece, $1,000. Took them to the Marvel convention, sold them all for $1 to $2. Went out and bought Trans Am the next day.
Oh, that's awesome.
75 Trans Am with the gold bird on.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's just been collections ad infinitum. Every year, you always find that one collection. So far this year, I'm still looking for that one collection that will make it worthwhile. But that's part of the thing. Like, here's a collection I just bought recently.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what's in the box, Mike?
There's always something good in the box,
I see something nice.
Well, here's a 1975 original Led Zeppelin tour t-shirt.
That's
Kinda
awesome.
Cool.
That thing is awesome.
Right? That was part of a collection. But this is a first printing of the
That's a
Teenage
Turtles
Turtles.
one.
Yeah. TMNT.
This is a Turtles one first
That's
print.
the first printing, right? The first print.
Man,
and it's really hard to tell the first print. You have to actually open it up.
My
to
man,
look
you got to
inside.
send this to the CGC.
You got to send it to the
This
CGC
is
to get
beautiful.
it graded. It's probably a very fine copy, which would grade out NATO for $10,000 plus. I actually paid $10,000 for the whole stack.
This is beautiful, bro.
So it's this turtle, third print, and a few others. You know, I remember the day this came out. I had my comic book store, right? I had a comic book store in Forest Hills in the 1980s, and I look at this, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I go, this is junk. It's a parody of Daredevil. You know, the radioactive canisters and all this stuff. Well, this is number 1. I ordered 10 copies of every independent comic that came out. Number 2, well, I had to order 50 copies because everybody kept asking for it. By number 3, this was selling as good as the X-Men comic books. And then everybody came out with an anthropomorphized animal, or with powers.
That's right. I remember that. The whole indie scene went crazy.
Kung Fu kangaroos, pandas, the samurai penguins.
My God.
Fish police, with everything. There was so many animals and superpowers. It was great. But the Turtles were the first ones, and people still love the Turtles. I still can't say I've actually read the Turtles. I've watched the cartoons, but I've sold many of these, and I bought Paid a lot of money for them, made a lot of people money, including myself. Who were the Turtles?
What's your favorite, man? I know through the years, like every time like we're digging through the crates and the long boxes, these comics that I wouldn't think excite you.
You'll see me pull out a
excite
King Outlaw.
Yes.
Right?
What's your favorite, man? Like what?
I really like the Marvel comics, and something about the Marvels, it's this little corner, this little square corner, the trademark. When the Marvels did it, they did it starting in 1962. The end of 62 or the beginning of 63, they started using the trademark with X-Men #1.
Yeah.
And I love that because they would put the superheroes that were in each comic book, they would have their faces and little caricatures in the corner, and it was just like that thing. It symbolized the Marvel comic books, and I've always loved that. And then when I'll see a Western comic book with a corner,
well, see, that's what I know that excites you. You love your Westerns.
Yeah. I like that stuff. I like the Marvel stuff, the superhero stuff. They used to advertise, like the T-shirts they would sell. Still into T-shirts, obviously. The posters and the Marvel superhero stuff that they would sell.
What got you into this, man?
I just loved collecting. I liked comic books when I was a kid. I started collecting when I was 4 years old. My mom actually helped me. I liked the idea of putting the numbers together and putting them in sequence and filling them up and making everything complete. If you have number 1 to 6 and you have to get number 7, like the Ghost Rider. So I sent away to Marvel Comics. There was only 7 of the Marvel Western, and they said, sorry, but Ghost Rider's discontinued. But they gave me the names of all these other stores that I could go to, back issue stores.
Yeah.
Like Robert Bell's store and this one and that one. So my mom started taking me to all these antique stores and places. I started looking for old comic books. I started buying and selling a little bit. And then I went to a comic book convention. My cousin gave me his box of comics, took them to the show. I made a profit. I said, this is pretty good. And I haven't stopped making.
All right, so now I
haven't stopped since then.
Now I know we spoke about this, and we spoke about this a lot of times. When is the man, Mike Carbo, the image, gonna hit the Instagram?
You've hit it on the head. Well, I was hoping I could postpone it a few years, but that doesn't happen right now in this pandemania, as I call it. A lot of my income and cash flow is from going to comic book conventions. And right now, that's been zilch, nothing. So I have everything set up. I'm hoping in the next 30 days to 60 days. I did a virtual show, and we did 3 hours, and I literally sold out. We did $10,000 of stuff in 3 hours. I gotta say that one of the cool guys that I know on Instagram, Elite Comics, as a matter of fact. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
He just helped Best Comics New York, rest in peace Tommy, Long Island store. And they just did a virtual show the other day, and I think that they were pretty successful too. When are we gonna get Mike Carbo on Instagram,
I'm working on it. Yes, that's gonna happen. It was actually gonna happen this month, but it'll probably happen now in September.
I'm excited.
It's gonna happen.
I'm excited for the launch.
Part of what it's gonna be. Actually, this is an X-Men comic book that was signed by Stan Lee at the Big Apple, 2012. If we go back, I started thinking about Big Apple and what it was. Now that it's not here, I start thinking, well, what is the assets of Big Apple? And it said, actually, the assets are all my memories and all the stories of all the people, whether it's Stan Lee, whether it's Val Kilmer singing Doors songs on his way to the show.
It's true.
Me picking him up, thinking that he would. I was supposed to have a limousine for Val Kilmer. At the last minute, the limo guy wouldn't, because he was an hour late coming down. So I'm like screaming at the limo driver, no, don't leave. I ended up renting a taxi, and Val Kilmer comes out. I said, look, we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. He says, fine, we'll go in a taxi. It was great. No problem. Carrie Fisher at the show, Chewbacca, Peter Mayhew, all the greats, all the memories and all the stories about this Gil Kane, the artist. It's just been a cornucopia of people that have been through the doors of Big Apple.
But I do got to say this, though. I have to say this as a friend. One of my favorite things to see at the Comic-Cons isn't the artists, and it's not the celebrities or the books. It's what Mike Carbo is going to be wearing. You have the best style in this comic industry that I love seeing what you're going to be wearing and who you're going to be with.
Well, now I have to live up to this reputation. Holy cow. I'm going to figure something out good. It's going to be in the form of a circus ringmaster with the hat and with the cane and with the whole stuff. Because this next show has got to be fun. It's got to be something different. It's like a reboot, reset for everything. This next Big Apple has to be the beginning of the next 25 years.
Yeah, man.
I literally was thinking about it. And now that we have this reset button right in the middle of everything, I want to make it absolutely amazing. I mean, the comic business is going to be great, and there's no problem. But the convention business is in flux.
Yeah.
And just like, you know, we restarted the Comic-Con in New York, I have to figure out a way to make Comic-Cons exciting again. A combination of live and a combination of online.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it.
I know you're going to do it, man. And I'm here too to help.
Thanks for talking.
I'm here
you're
to
going to be
help.
part of it for sure.
My man,
for sure.
It's always a pleasure to see you,
Excellent,
brother.
Nick.
Remember, guys, in today's world, we might be masked, but our passion for comics runs free.